You're right, guys. Shay here. Uneven bounce. Hope you guys are well. So I'm back with another live stream. Absolutely delighted to be joined by three wonderful guests today for my part two of the Proteas 2012 to now. I know you guys have been desperately waiting for part two since part one was issued 3 months ago. I managed to get here with me today. We've got a new guest, actually, first time to the channel, Lou Balalo at the Cricket Scholar. Go check him out. And we've got the returning guests, the guys who are with me on the part one. We've got the heavy roller, Ravi Reddy from the Cricket Fantasy magazine, and Abai Sorka from Bowled Through the Gate, as well, joining us all the way from California. So yeah, we've got an international panel today. We've got P. Joburg and California, and me in Berkshire, England. So yeah. Anyway, guys, how you doing?
Can't complain. It's a typical Saturday morning. Yeah.
Fantastic.
I'm well, thank you.
Yeah, it's just for guys who don't know, it's at 9 p.m. in South Africa. Well, about 9:24 now, and I think Abai must be about 10 in the morning where you are. I think West Coast, isn't it? So yeah,
11:20.
11:20. Excellent. Okay, it's 8 hours behind. Okay. So we did obviously part one. It was so long ago now. I was trying to remember what we talked about, but I do. So we were going through, obviously the crux of the conversation here is compare the number one ranked team in the world, South Africa, in 2012 after they beat England at Lords, take the series 2-0, and number one Mace. And I wanted to do a comparison leading into the South African summer. Obviously, this is prior to Sri Lanka, to compare the teams from then to now, because obviously I think a lot of talk has been about how South Africa are somewhere behind as a test team to where they were a few years ago, especially during that 2006 to 2015 period where they were unbeaten away from home for 9 straight years. Phenomenal achievement. But I actually want to delve a little bit deeper into that and to see actually how far are they away from that side. So in part one with Ravi and Abai, we talked about the batsmen in particular. Today we're going to talk about the all-rounder slot, especially since the resurgence or emergence, should we say, of Jan Mulder. And then we'll be delving into depth about the bowlers. I want to go with the 4 bowlers from 2012. So we had Steyn, Morkel, Imran Tahir, and Werner Verlander. I want to compare them today, kind of like for like, with the 4 bowlers that are currently occupying the spots for the Proteas side, which is Lungi Ngidi, Ahisa Rabada, Ankrit Nokia, and Keshav Maharaj. So yeah, just want to delve into that. If we start, guys, obviously we've had Jan Mulder played a single test match against Zimbabwe, I believe it was, in 2018, that 4-day test, which I think went about 3 days in the end, didn't it? I think it was a very short test match. But yeah, I just wanted to talk about that Jan Mulder first, because as I mentioned on Cricket Fanatics magazine shows, I feel like he is, don't get it twisted, I'm not saying he is the next Jack Cullis, but I feel he's the closest thing that South Africa have had to him in the last, say, 10, 15 years. They tried a variety of people who could fill that all-round the slots, give it that balance. I think about someone like Ryan McLaren. I think about, obviously, Werner Verlander was batted at 7 on several occasions. Dwayne Pretorius as well. But I feel Jan Mulder has got the potential to give real bounce and perform well with bat and ball over the next probably 5 to 10 years. He's just turning 23 in February, so he's still very young. What are your thoughts, guys? I'll start with you, Luba, as the newbie here. What are your thoughts on Jan Mulder? What do you think is what's his potential for the for the Proteas?
Well, I share the same sentiments as you. I've followed him, I think, since he was around about 16, 17. And since then, I've been saying he's the closest thing that we have to a Jacques Kallis. Not saying he's going to be as good as Jacques Kallis, because I believe he can even be better. He has the potential, and the only thing that he needs now, he needs to be nurtured. He needs to be taken care of. He needs to be given opportunities to learn and grow. For me, I rate him very highly. I'm a bit unhappy that he bats so low for the team. But looking at where the team is in terms of our batting stability, I think it's okay for now for him to bat 7. But I believe he's a top 5 batsman. He's going to score plenty of runs. He's also going to be very crucial with the ball as well. I think he showed his bowling abilities against Sri Lanka. He has a bit of skill with the ball as well. He doesn't have a lot of pace. But if you can move the ball as he moves it, you don't necessarily need to have much pace. And he's always going to come in as the supporting simmer, so he doesn't necessarily have to be quick. And I think one important element that he showed that he can hold a decent line and length. He showed that he can close one end up, which is going to be good going forward. Because when you have guys like KG and Anna and even Lungi on a good day, he's always going to come in handy as that seamer who just closes shop on the other hand, and then you can just use your strike bowlers to attack on the other end. So for me, he has a lot of promise. He has a lot of potential, and he's just been struggling with injuries recently. So I hope he can stay injury free for as long as possible, because I think looking at all the all-rounders we have in the country, all of them are talented, all of them are quality. But for me, when it comes to Test cricket, he is the closest thing we have to Jacques Kallis. So I'm keen to see how he goes in Pakistan, because I'm hoping that he starts. No matter what happens, I want to see him start in Pakistan and see how he goes, because that's the only way he's going to get better the more he plays.
Absolutely. Abai, you just talk about obviously the two main facets of his game with his batting and bowling. Obviously, he's a genuine all-rounder. Over the next few years, provided he stays injury-free and plays a run of games, which element do you see excelling, his batting or his bowling?
Well, at the moment, I think his batting seems like the stronger of his two skills. But you never know how much or how little a player can change over the course of a couple of years. But I think as far as Vian Mulder is concerned, I think his batting might develop to a much greater level. I think, he has a first-class batting average of close to 40, and plus he's batted at the top of the order in the Mzansi Super League for the Swanage Spartans. So I'm getting the feeling his batting is about to blossom, and it's only a matter of time.
Okay, thank you, Abai. And Ravi, do you echo those thoughts, or do you feel maybe his bowling will kind of take charge of his game for the Proteas?
Yeah, look, I mean, so far he's only had 3 tests, so I think it'll be very difficult to sort of portray him in the same light as a Jacques Kallis. I mean, those are mighty big shoes to fill. I think it's just a matter of time, really, to see him blossom in his respective roles. For now, I'm content having him bat at 7. I feel that I think we've been juggling around a couple all-rounders. I remember we shuffled a bit with Dwayne Pretorius at one point, and there was a huge debate around whether we should bring Chris Morris back into the role or not. In my opinion, I think Mulder is the guy to come in at 7. He's certainly handy with the bat. You saw that big partnership with Faf du Plessis during the Test series. So I think with bat, I think he's definitely got some way to go, but he's certainly shown the makings of a top order batsman, as Luba said. But also, when we're drawing a comparison with Jacques Kallis, we also need to bear in mind that he was an asset not only with bat or ball, he was also an asset in the field as well. Jacques Kallis has accumulated over 200 catches as well, which is significant. And I feel that Vian Mulder has the potential to also sort of contribute to the field. And that's something that let us down against England when England were touring us last year as well. So I think we need to look at, when we say fulfill a void that we're missing, I think we have to look at it from all facets, bat, ball, and field. And one interesting comment from Simon Gear, one of the founder of Guerrilla Cricket in South Africa. We did some commentary, and he made a comment saying that one guy that he sees some leadership potential displayed during the series was from Vian Mulder. So potentially, perhaps a long-term succession plan for him to maybe fulfill the role as captain later down the line. But again, we have to wait and see. We have to wait for the results. We have to wait for the milestones in order to sort of verify, to validate that sort of appointment.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think see how his career kind of crystallizes over the next kind of 12, 18 months. Because obviously, I think the Cox made it quite clear, isn't he? The position for him, he's just keeping it warm, basically. He's not any real long-term intention to occupy the captaincy. Obviously, Luba, you've got a lot of knowledge in terms of domestic players and their kind of schooling backgrounds and how they've done before they've kind of entered the Proteas setup. Do you feel like Mulder has leadership credentials potentially for the Proteas?
Well, from his junior cricket days, I remember I think he was SA under-19 captain. I'm just not sure, but I think he also captained Saints, the school where he came from. That's the school where guys like Marcus Ackerman also came from. Kagiso Rabada. I think he actually captained KG at school, and he also captained KG in the thingy. KG was ahead of him, but yeah, he captained at school. He captained the SA under-19. I think when he was about 17 and up until he was 18. So I think he's someone that has shown leadership abilities. You can see with how he carries himself on the field, and he's also one of those guys who always take one for the team. He's one of those guys who always say the team needs wickets. He's always gonna lift his hand up and say, "Let me try, let me go for it." And I think those are characteristics of someone who has good leadership skills. So I think it's not far off. We could possibly see him lead the Test team in the next couple of years. But for me, for now, I'd rather have him focus on being that all-rounder that we've always wanted. The first thing basically being to try and stay fit. And then as time goes on, then maybe we can consider him as captain. You don't want to put too many things on his shoulders for now, because he's not even one of those guys you'd say they're safe in the side yet. He's still trying to pave. He's still trying to make a name for himself in the team. So even with those leadership characteristics that he has, I would ignore them for now as if I don't see anything, just to allow him the room to grow as an all-rounder, to grow as a bowler in Test cricket, and to grow as a batsman in Test cricket. Then maybe after a couple of years, then you can start putting those leadership qualities into good use.
I agree. I mean, he's 20 years old. He's not everyone can be Graham Smith, can they, taking the captaincy at 22? You know, that was quite phenomenal up in 2003. But, you know, I think I personally think this, and this sounds a bit controversial. I know Paul has opinion with this, especially between you, Ravi, and Luba. But for me, De Kock, I like him at 7. I would not be averse to Temba coming at 5, Mulder at 6, and De Kock at 7. I think De Kock's style of batting could lend itself the aggressive way to batting with a tail. I don't think Mulder, I think his style of batting, what I've seen, I think he hit him up the order without the pressure of batting with the tail, allowed to play a natural innings. I think he better suited at 6. I wouldn't even mind him batting at 5 and Temba coming at 6. But I think the only thing is how much bowling is going to be relied upon. I just want to go into a comment we've got here from Joe Nuttall. So Joe's just commented here, just mentioned, really comments on the upcoming series. As you can see, it's going to be a great experience at Pakistan SA. Good series, and I reckon most of the squad hasn't played there before. Thanks, Joe, for the comment. Appreciate it, mate. Yeah, very true. Very true. Most squad hasn't played it before. In fact, the last tour of South Africa, or Pakistan from South Africa, was 2007, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys. So 14 years ago. So yeah, none of these guys. Yeah, so none of these guys would have been there then. But yeah, I think it's a very competitive series. But that's for another time. We can delve into that. Just if you go into the bowlers. So I want to mention before off camera, discuss obviously the quartet of bowlers they had in 2012. So we got Dale Steyn, Morne Morkel, Werner Philander, Imran Tahir, obviously very much household names. And then we've got the 4 bowlers now. Now I know obviously Sapamla played against Sri Lanka, so he played those 2 tests because KG was injured. But I think it's fair to say that KG is the number 1 bowler in that bowling attack. I don't think there's really any arguments there. So I'd say Rabada, I'm going to say Ngidi over Sapamla. So Rabada, Ngidi, Keshav Maharaj as a spinner, and Andresh Nortje as the third seamer. So I want us to just mention the stats here. So I've gone with kind of Rabada measured against Steyn. Sorry, I will get to that comment from the cricket connoisseur in a second. So Kagiso Rabada, he's played 43 tests, 197 wickets, average of 22.95 with a strike rate of 40.6. Dale Steyn at 43 tests took 217 wickets, so 20 wickets more. Average slightly higher though. It was 23.77 with a strike rate of 42.6. So versus KG's 40.6. Kagiso Rabada, I think, is you can't call him a talent anymore. He's been around for over 5 years. So for me, guys, if we look at, if we fast forward, obviously, still Dale Steyn's finished up in Test cricket. If we fast forward another 5 years, so we're 2026, obviously he's had over a 10-year career. Do we think that Kagiso Rabada can eclipse Dale Steyn's achievements? I'm going to start with Abai and get his thoughts on this.
It's very doable for him. In fact, he's been the go-to strike bowler for South Africa for quite some time now. And even though recently he's been battling a couple of injuries, I think he's going to get fitter, and we're more likely to see him be among the wickets every game.
Do you think there's more pressure on Rabada? The fact that, I mean, obviously we know that Dale Steyn was the first one from that quartet I mentioned. He made his debut in 2004. Morco was 2006, took a year off. And he obviously Vern Flander made his debut in 2011. So much later down the line, Steyn was very much into his career. Do you think Rabada's the pressure on his shoulders to kind of lead that attack? Obviously very wrought out with Sapamla and Nokia and Ngidi. Is that a help or a hindrance to him? I'll throw that one to you, Ravi.
Sorry, are you asking? So, could you just repeat that question? I apologize.
So no problem. It's just so in terms of the kind of pressure on, if you want to call it that, on his shoulders, the kind of the role that Rabada takes is very much the leader of the attack. He's obviously only 43 tested himself, but he's very much the leader of the attack. I mean, Gee's played 7 tests, Mirage played 30 odd, and Noki's played, I think it's 10, 11 tests, so 8 tests. So do you feel that the pressure on Rabada's shoulders, in a team that is obviously struggling a little bit, I mean, the 5th in ICC Championship standings, Steyn came into a world-class side. Rabada's not. Do you feel, obviously, with the bat to be more brittle, there is more pressure on his shoulders for Rabada to lead the attack than maybe Steyn had? And is that a hindrance or is that a help to someone like Rabada?
That's an excellent question, because if you look at the time that Dale Steyn made his debut, Sean Pollock, Mackay and Tini, they were still playing. So they effectively took him under their wing. And I recall the first 6 to 8 tests, we call it maybe 10. Steyn wasn't anywhere near where he should be, where he ended up being, at least. I remember he gave that beauty of a Yorker to Michael Vaughan. I don't know if you remember that delivery.
I remember very well.
Right? Yeah. And that's where we knew Dale Steyn has arrived on the scene and he's going to be around for a long time. I think the disadvantage that Kagiso Rabada had was that quite a few of the elder statesmen left around about the same time. So he had to pick up the workload very quickly without much mentoring. Fortunately, he had the likes of Dale Steyn. Sorry, not Dale Steyn, Vernon Philander, who was around in the side. As you recall, he only retired fairly recently, like in the last season. You had some tutelage. You have fantastic resources in South African camp. We also have Vinnie Barnes, who was a bowling coach for a long time, who also helped KG along the way. But 197 test wickets in about 45 test matches is not bad going at all. You asked the original question.
Average strike rate in Steyn. Better average and strike rates at 43
better
tests.
Average and strike rate. So by logic, you would think, given the current circumstances, you would think that he should easily eclipse Dale Steyn. Dare I say, go possibly past the 500 mark. But here's the problem. Kagiso Rabada is a 3-format player. He plays IPL as well. So his workload
Dale Steyn was the same. Dale Steyn played IPL.
He did. Definitely. But the truth is that the demands of the game has also changed as well. The game has also changed significantly as well. There's much more T20 tournaments throughout the year. And also the reality is that South Africa is in such a financial hole at the moment, that your marquee players like KG Rabada, they can't turn down an IPL season. Unlike if you're an Australian, if you're like a David Warner, you could say, I need some time off to spend with the family. I'm going to sit out the IPL. That's a huge amount of money that he's throwing away. But he can do that. He's in a position to do that. Whereas a KG Rabada can't do that. I'm not saying that they're obviously destitute or anything crazy like that. But the truth is that we don't, the Cricket South Africa salaries aren't anywhere near in comparison to what the top three are paying. So this all ties in very well in terms of workload, in terms of demands of the game. In my opinion, I think he will eclipse Dalestein. The question of whether or not he'll get to the 500 buck, I'm not sure. It's highly unlikely. He'll have to give up one or two of the formats in order for that to happen.
Abai, would you agree with that? Do you feel like he maybe needs to drop one of the formats to prolong his Test career?
Maybe eventually, maybe much later in his career. But yeah, I think there's more of an onus on KG Rabada right now, because if we compare him to Dale Steyn wasn't exactly a regular in the IPL. Like, he played in 2020, he played in 2019. I don't think he played the IPLs of 2018, 2017. He was back in the IPL after a few years. But on the other hand, KG has played pretty much every IPL he's been available for the Delhi Capitals. So I think ultimately, maybe a few years down the road, he may need to reconsider which formats he wants to play, depending on his fitness. Touch wood. I hope.
Sorry to cut you off.
I hope he stays fit and injury-free for as long as he can.
But Steyn, to be fair, Steyn was there from the first day of the IPL. The guy was there when Shah Rukh Khan was dancing in the stands, right? So I mean, the man was playing since that time already. So, of course, the demands would have all increased. I agree with you. I think Steyn has pretty much been injury-free up until around about the 2015, 2016, suddenly the wheels started coming off a bit, right? He was explaining his shoulder. There was like on two sides of the shoulder. He got two separate injuries, like 8 months apart. I mean, that's career debilitating. But anyways, this is a slight deviation there.
I think it's, I mean, if we go to you, Luba, obviously just wrapping up about Steyn versus KG, if you want to call it that. What do you see KG going in the next 5 years with his career? I mean, he's turning 26, I believe, in April. So he's not obviously peaked yet, that's for sure. But he's getting to a time now, obviously, he's got a lot of tests under his belt. Do you see there's still a lot of room for growth with his game? Do you see him take to another level, another notch over the next couple of years? Or are we seeing the best of KG already?
No, I don't think we've seen the best of KG yet. We may have seen glimpses of it every now and then. I remember, I think that series against was it Australia, where a bowler shot. Was it Werner got injured? I don't even remember the bowler that got injured, and KG came and he won us the game in the second innings. And I think those were glimpses for me. I felt those were glimpses of what KG can do. Because if you remember, the pitch wasn't even doing much for the bowlers. But he came in and he just bowled his heart out. So I think there's a couple of questions that he still needs to answer. And I'm sure he's going to answer them. For instance, bowling in India, bowling on flat pitches at times, he does tend to struggle, but I think it has been a learning curve for him. I'm expecting to see him bowl better, especially when we go play in Pakistan now. Because even though they say the pitches there, seamers get a lot of wickets, part of me still, I don't think those are green tops. I don't think those are wickets that are naturally made for seamers. I just think seamers get wickets on those pitches, probably because batsmen playing there are not good at playing seam bowling as compared to playing spin bowling. But we're gonna see in the series. For me, the most important thing for him to get to 500 wickets, I think, it'll depend on the number of test matches that we play. We honestly don't play a lot of test matches. He can stay fit, as fit as possible. But if we don't play enough test matches, I think the same thing that happened to Dale Steyn is going to happen to him. Because you add 10 to 15 more test matches to Dale Steyn's career, and he would have gotten close to that 600 mark now. But then we just don't play enough test matches. But hopefully in the next couple of years that's going to change, And then I'm sure Cage is going to get to 400 test wickets. Because even if you can choose a format and say, well, I'm not going to play T20s, we still don't play enough test cricket. So it's not going to make much difference.
I think personally the manager would have learned actually from Dale Steyn. I think they know they've got an absolute gem in their hands in Rabada, and they won't want this career to go on the same way. And I think management of his career will be absolutely vital. I think they've rested him obviously for the last 12 months off and on. I think it's very important they take that kind of approach to Rabada and they pick series to series. I think right now, if we could sort of say that the 50 over World Cup is the most distant thing away, that the 50 over format is the least important out of the three. Obviously, a T20 World Cup's on the horizon. So I think that might take a back step, just for now, with someone like Rabada. Because I think, like I said before, amount of cricket being played nowadays might not always be red ball, but as so much cricket being played, it's a real, as we know, it's a real exertion on a fast bowler's body. So it's important, I think, that they protect him. I think that will be the key to see if he gets to 500 wickets and beyond, is how he's managed over the next kind of 6-7 years. So we'll see. I want to move across now to Dale Steyn's partner in crime, Morny Morkel. And I want to compare him to Ankrit Nortje. So we look at the Nortje's only played 8 tests so far. So 8 tests, 30 wickets at 30.73 and a strike rate of 48.03. Morny Morkel in his first 8 tests got 28 wickets at 28 average, a strike rate of 53.39. It's a little bit higher, better average, only 2 wickets less, very comparable. Abai, we'll head over to you for this one. Morny Morkel was a bit of an enigma at times, I felt. I always felt Morny Morkel with more mongrel in his system. If he just had a bit more of like a David Warner him, if you want to say that, I think could have been a far better bowler. I think he's wonderfully talented and a bit of a shame really because he started off very well. And he had, played 1 test in 2006, was out for a year, came back in 2008. And then he finished his career very well as well, as we know in 2018. His last 2 years were excellent. I think he's averaged under 20 under the last 2 years of his career. And he went off on a high as well. But do we think, Nortje, if Morkel had Nortje's kind of aggression and approach to the game, maybe Morkel would have took another 100 wickets, who knows? If we look at Nortje here, Abai, obviously you've been following his career closely. What do you see for him in his prospects over the next 5 to 6 years? Do you think he can be a better foil to Rabada than Morkel was to Steyn? Obviously, he's going to be 28 this year. Or do you think his career will kind of peter out? Just let me know your thoughts, really.
Well, this is a bit of an interesting question because Nortje, before he entered the Proteas setup, he's been dealing with injuries. Like the first time when I saw him was in the MSL, and when he played, I think hardly 3 or 4 games for the Blitz, he had to leave because I think he had a broken foot, if I'm not mistaken. So I think, but after he started playing Test cricket for South Africa, I don't think he's suffered from any major injury yet. I just hope, just like the other fast bowlers, he can stay fit for a longer period of time. Yeah, so I think as far as his bowling is concerned, he looks like a bowler who can frequently take wickets. He didn't have the ideal start back in India, but when he started bowling more at home, he definitely found his rhythm, and I think he can be very scary with his extreme pace. So that's where I stand on Nortje right now.
We've got a comment come through from Emily Norris. Thank you, Emily. I just want to bring it up, and we'll head that one over to Ravi here. So just comments on Morny overstepping. All those nobles reading help Mornay's wickets column. Thank you, Emily, for that question. Also, that statement, should I say? Do you want to comment on that, Ravi?
Yeah, it's a bit harsh. 309 test wickets isn't bad going at all, considering he was competing for a place in the side. I know 2006, 2007, it was very difficult to break into the team at that point because you had 2 elder statesmen in the form of Pollock and Tini were still pretty much in good shape at that point in time. And for Morkel to come in and make his test sort of career his own, if you will, I think he did reasonably well. He might have had a bit of a slow start, but to end up with 309 test wickets, I think at home series against India, that's probably the best I've ever seen him bowl, to be fair. So a bit harsh. The one thing I would say, possibly in light of Emily's comment, is that I feel he was somewhat underutilized in one-day international cricket. I think he could have done a lot more with the white ball in hand. But again, it's quite difficult to say. I think a lot of people do disagree with me on this one. I felt he had one more World Cup in him, in my opinion. But that 2015 semi-final that we don't want to talk about as much as the other semi-final, we also don't want to talk about. You could see something died in him that day, and you can't blame him for experiencing that. I mean, you threw everything out there. You put everything out there. You played for your country. You literally left everything on the field. And unfortunately, you had Grant Elliott just coming in, bashing everybody else around in arguably one of the smallest rugby grounds in the history of the world. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. Coming back to Emily's point about Morkel, a little bit harsh. I thought he was an exceptional bowler. In fact, I actually pitted him as one of the guys to break the 400 mark at one point. It's just a pity he didn't stick around long enough for that to happen.
Yeah, I mean, for me, your 2015 World Cup, I just quickly say that the image of Dale Steyn and Grant Elliott at the end, it always reminds you of Brett Lee and Andrew Flintoff in 2005 Ashes. That's consoling, really. It's just a heartbreaking, wasn't it? But anyway, do you want maybe to wrap it up? These comments on Morne Morkel and Nokia Luba. Do you want to just any point you want to put across?
Morne Morkel, personally, I feel he underachieved in Test cricket, to be honest. Should have gotten way more wickets. I know it sounds a bit harsh. But he found the right line in length a bit too late in his career. His last 2 years, that's how he should have bowled. A bit like Anna. If you bowl 150, trust me, if I could bowl at that pace, I'd probably be one of the most aggressive bowlers in the world. I always got the feeling that Morne was a bit too nice for someone who bowls at that pace. Even with Anna at times, I also get the same feeling. A bit too nice. It's cricket. If a batsman drives you for 4, come on, man, hit them in the helmet, hit the glove or something. You can bowl 150 Ks. You need to scare a batsman. If you guys remember Mitch Johnson, he used to terrorize batsmen. Mitch Johnson, he didn't care whether a pitch was flat or a pitch was green. He was just going to come in, run hard, and bowl quick. He didn't care whether he was hitting you or he wasn't hitting you. And I think Morne and Anna just both, they miss that bit of aggression in them. With Morne Morkel, I felt he was a great wide ball bowler. I'm not gonna lie, I rated him highly in wide ball cricket, but I felt there was something missing in Test cricket. You remember the innings against we were playing against Australia. I think he broke Michael Clark's rib. We waited for about 2 days just for one ball that was full, but he got carried away with just bouncing and bouncing. Michael Clark ended up scoring runs. So for me, Morne Morkel, he was missing. It wasn't too much, just a little bit of something in him. But he was a really good bowler. I'm not gonna lie, but I still believe for someone who was that tall, for someone who could bowl at that pace, I still feel he should have taken more Test wickets than Stuart Broad.
You have to go. You have to get back to Aaron, didn't you, somehow?
Quick one. In Morne's defense, Michael Clark was scoring runs against everybody that year, to be fair. The man was scoring runs against everybody. So I think he was a run machine, to be fair. David Warner as well also came to the party in that series. But anyways, I don't know if there is a line you can bowl to Michael Clark, to be honest with you.
When he's on song, yeah.
Yeah.
When he's
Anyways,
on song. I mean, No, I think it's very interesting, isn't it? Like, we're still, it's as Ravi points out, 309 test wickets, is a very good career. I think he averaged around 28 with the ball, I think roughly, but I'm the stats to hand now. But and we're still talking about his personality, his characteristics on the field. I think a lot of people, I think like Mr. Johnson, you mentioned before, Luba. The reality was he's a very insecure guy, especially at that point. Extremely insecure guy. Had a lot of hang-ups by himself, but he put the ball in hand, especially at home, because in England he was a little puppy dog, and then he turned to a Rottweiler in Australia. In that 13-14 series, you'll remember. To me, actually, the difference between Nokia and Morkel, obviously apart from the obvious, but I always feel like, sorry, I just saw Ravi's comment. It's very true. It's what I always. I actually feel like Nokia has got a lot of inner confidence, and there is a bit of dog in there. Whereas Morkel is extremely timid, and I feel like Nokia knows his capabilities. I just feel like being 6 inches shorter, he's always going to have to bowl a bit differently to take his wickets. Morkel, like you said, very similar stature abroad. Maybe with the more dog in him, he could have took more wickets. But it's funny, like, he did so well as, career, a 12-year career, and we're still saying he underachieved, even with over 300 test wickets. Really kind of a mark of the man. Abai, any comments? Just actually to wrap this up. Do you want to comment on anything we've talked about here about Nokia and Morkel before we go to the next one?
Yeah, Morkel was an awesome bowler at test level. I just wish he played maybe one more season just to provide some sort of guidance for the up and coming. But then again, I think his stats speak for themselves, and now he's playing in the BBL, enjoying his time in franchise cricket. So that's where I'm going to leave it at.
Okay, no problem. We'll actually head back to you in a second, Abai. So I want to talk about now the third teamer. So the trio of teamers. Just going to bring my notes up here. So we're talking about Werner Philander and Lungi Ngidi. So Ngidi's only played 7 tests. I actually thought he played more than that before looking into it. He actually only played 7 tests. So 7 tests, 22 wickets, an average of 25.73, strike rate at 48.32. Werner Philander, as you all know, hit this ground running, to say the least. Phenomenal in that first opening series against Australia and on to New Zealand. But yeah, his first 7 tests, and read these stats, were absolutely ridiculous. So 7 tests, 51 wickets, and 14.15. And of his career, was a strike rate of 50.85. Obviously, it was, and I think we can delve a little bit into this, but the fact is, the trio of fast bowlers that South Africa have now are very different to the trio of fast bowlers that they had then. I think it was obviously trying to comparing Werner Philander to Lungi Ngidi just through default. They are very different bowlers, but Ngidi's obviously a very talented bowler himself. He's going to be 25 years old, I believe, I think it's March. So he's still, young and raw, and 7 tests in. He's obviously still a baby to a test arena. Philander played 64 tests in the end. It wasn't too much of an elongated career. Obviously, lasted 8 years. Do you feel Ngidi has potential to eclipse Philander over his course of his career, Abai?
Okay, I think it's probably a bit too early to say, but I think he definitely has what it takes. But if we were to go back to Philander, I think Philander and Ngidi are two pretty different kind of bowlers, because Philander wasn't necessarily all that quick, but the movement he generated off the surface whenever it was more conducive, it was often deadly accurate for opposition batsmen. On the other hand, Ngidi is more of a pace bowler, and he hits the deck hard. I think, okay, if we compare the beginnings, Ngidi's found it a bit more difficult to take wickets, while Philander, he raced to 50 wickets in, I think, 7 test matches. Could be 8, not completely sure. But I think yes, Ngidi has a lot of potential. I think he's gotten fitter in recent times. Yeah, he bowled pretty nicely against Sri Lanka, and I enjoyed his debut spell against India. In fact, I thought South Africa were a little bit under pressure in the second game, but a 6-wicket haul to bowl out India in the 4th innings to win the series, that was simply amazing. As far as replacing Vernon Philander is concerned, I've been hearing a lot of good things about Glenton Steerman, but unfortunately, I think he's been struggling with injury as well. I don't think. Yeah, so he won't be able to play in the Pakistan series, but I would imagine he'll be on the fringes of the Proteas side in the coming months. So that's where I'm going to leave it at, and I think these are my closing statements as well as I've got to go. So thanks all for having me here, Shay.
No problem, mate. Thanks so much, mate, for coming on. I was hoping to get like the latest confectionery treat from California as in light of our last conversation, but that can wait till another time.
Take care, guys.
Cool. Cheers, bye. All right, mate. Ravi knows exactly what I'm talking about there. I think we eventually delved into the different flavor grape jellies in America you can grab. But anyway, maybe that's for the next show. Anyway, right. So thank you very much to Abai there. You can find him at Ball Through the Gates on Instagram. It's very popular over there. Yeah, go give him check him out. Anyway, yeah, give him a follow. If we just carry on here, obviously comparing these this third teamer. I mean, I mentioned before, it's quite a general question, to be fair. I appreciate that. Ngidi obviously struggled with injuries quite a lot. I think it was quite well documented that he lost a bit of weight over the past 12 months, going into the England series, especially the white ball series. He lost, I think it was something like 6-7 kgs. I think he lost, which I think has helped a lot. Obviously, he's been playing more consistently recently. I mean, I'll throw it to you, Luba, there. I mean, what is the potential of Ngidi? I think out of everyone, I think I'm a little more the most unsure. I think I know what I'm going to find within Nokia over his course of his career. I think I can kind of see what's happening in the next 5 years. I'm not fully sure, to be honest with you, with Ngidi, where his career is going to go. Is he an opening bowler? Is he the guy to set the new cherry? Is he a guy to be kind of the consummate number, first change? Is he a fast bowler? Is he a guy just more line length, ball tight lines? Can he crank up a bit more in terms of his, get extra half a yard of pace? I mean, what's your thoughts really on Ngidi in his first 7 Test matches, Luba?
It's a bit of a tight one, to be honest with you, because I remember there was an article I read a couple of years ago about I think it was a 15-year-old, 16-year-old Lungi Ngidi bowling high 130s. That's high. That was about 136 clicks, and I think it was 15 or 16. And then you look at him now. He looks like he's still struggling to get back to his natural, normal pace. He looks like he has lost a bit of pace. But I understand getting injured, losing a bit of weight. That's quite some change in the body and the mind that still needs to get used to. Maybe he's still struggling with. He's still trying to get used to the new body that he sort of has now. Because he has struggled with injuries. I remember in the Africa Cup T20. That's where he sort of made a name for himself. His bowling action at that time, he used to put a lot of pressure on his ankle. That's why if you track back to those that time, he always had an ankle injury. I think he was supposed to go to the Under-19 World Cup with Kagiso Rabada, by the way, I believe. He was supposed to open the bowling with him in that World Cup, but he got injured. So he definitely is someone that struggled with injuries. So I don't know. I don't want to lie. I don't know where he's at the moment in terms of bowling with the new ball, bowling second change. So I think we just have to wait and see how the next couple of Test matches that he plays go. I'm just glad that he's been able to complete a series without getting injured. Played 2 Test matches, bowled a lot of overs as well. So I'm hoping to see that pace go up a little bit more. We might not see him bowl high 140s anymore. But if he can at least touch 140, that should be good enough, I feel. Because I don't think he has the consistency and the skill to bowl as Vernon Philander. But to be fair, not too many bowlers have that. I just feel like Vern was special. For a guy to hit that line and length 6 out of 6 times, that's something special. It's not something you're gonna get easily. But I think in white ball cricket, Lungi is a quality bowler. He's a smart bowler. Very skillful as well. For me, I would like to see the coaching staff be patient with him. In Pakistan, he might have to be dropped because if they want to play the second spinner. But yeah, for me, I'd say give him a couple of tests and see how it goes. Because I think there were times where he was touching 138 against Sri Lanka. Because I think the other thing that we normally forget is that rhythm and confidence also counts when it comes to a fast bowler's pace. You might see a guy bowling 136, but the more he bowls, he gets into his rhythm and he feels confident, his tail goes up. That's when he can start cranking it up. So I'm hoping he finds his rhythm eventually. He feels comfortable and confident again, and then we can see the Lungi that we saw against India when he made his debut. He looked the part. So I'm hoping to see that Lungi again.
I'd agree with that. I think a lot of it could be down to just the mental side of things. Like maybe he's still adjusting to his new body, like you said before. And when he's fully confident in his body, the mechanics, then we'll see maybe crank it up. And maybe he's still back of his mind thinking if he exerts himself too much, then maybe a flare-up an injury again, potentially. Ravi, to wrap this up, Ravi, I just want to go to you. Do you feel like maybe Ngidi is looking over his shoulder more than Nokia heading into this test series in Pakistan, and obviously the 3 tests back at home against Australia?
That's a good question, because for me, the two of them are neck on neck at the moment in terms of performances. I think Lungi less so. I think this has been a big confidence booster for him, because I agree 100% with Luba that he actually finished a series without incurring an injury, which is actually a major confidence booster as well, especially if we lost Luba.
Maybe it's the load shedding MP.
Sure. Yeah. That's welcome to South Africa, right? So I think to answer your question, I think that I think he's looking over his shoulder less, perhaps, because I think he actually finished the tour without incurring many injuries. He got quite a few sticks as well. I think he got a forfeit in the last test innings that he bowled at in South Africa against Sri Lanka. I think the only criticism I have of Lungi is that those 4 wickets, I think 2 or 3 of them were wide outside leg stump, and they weren't the most challenging deliveries in some cases. But wickets are wickets. It's a confidence booster nevertheless. I just hope that the same vein of form continues when they go to Sri Lanka. They go to Pakistan. Sorry,
Pakistan. Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of Pakistan, obviously they've gone with they'll probably go with either. Well, definitely the main spinner being Keshav Maharaj. Potentially George Linder will get a go. If you look obviously at the spinner from 2012, you had Imran Tahir, somewhat a short red ball career, obviously a stalwart in white ball cricket for the Proteas, but quite a reduced test career. Just go to his stats here now. He played 20 tests in total, only 20, 57 wickets, averaging 40 with the ball, strike rate for 68.86 versus Keshav Maharaj. At a 20 over mark, he took 74 wickets, averaged 28.36 with a strike rate of 62.07. So stats better all round.
Sorry, is Keshav, his average must be about 30, 31 at the moment, right?
It is now, but after 20, I think it's 33 now, maybe, but after 20 tests, it was 28.36 at the same level. We can compare it, though, if you want, to obviously to today, and obviously with current
fine.
But it's still some way, better than Imran Tahir's 40 average.
Definitely. And Keshav, we could do so much with him as well. For me, he's proven to be a bit of a batsman, if anything. He's come to the party with the bat in a big way.
I know you're a big fan, aren't you, of Maharaj potentially batting type the order. I've heard you a lot of cricket fanatics about this.
No, this is a long-standing joke I have had with Dan at Dan Cricket 93. To some of our viewers, but I've always said that Kesh should bat high up the order. And I've even said that you must select Kesh for every test as long as he bats it at 7. That's a guaranteed 50 for you right there. And the truth is that he stepped up. He stepped up his batting significantly. I think he's learned to keep his wicket for longer periods, which has frustrated. He certainly frustrated the Sri Lankan bowlers as well. But just to tie in with Imran, I think Imran sort of cemented his place over time. His relation with South African cricket's been predominantly in the white ball arena. He
Yeah.
had a test stint, as you quite rightfully put, 20 tests. Not a bad conclusion to his career. But every time I think about Imran Tahir in the test uniform, I always think about him. I think it was at Perth when he took that wicket and he started running around. And then they looked at the replays and they realized he overstepped the line. And the whole crowd started like laughing and chanting at him. So that's when I was like, okay, maybe his test career is pretty much over at this point. But anyways, I think from a white ball point of view, Imran Tahir was our go-to guy for T20s. I think his average was like about 18 or something crazy like that. But anyways, test cricket, Keshav for the win, definitely.
I think it's funny. Like if you look at all the four balls there now, there's a massive parity between the spinners. Obviously with Mirage and Tahir. I mean, the other three, it's hard obviously because a couple of guys still very early in their careers with Ngidi and Nokia. Rabar's got much more data to kind of work with to see how obviously he's performed. But in terms of Mirage and Tahir, there's no doubt about it that Mirage is a better test spinner. That's where the bowling attack of now has really excelled. If we kind of look at it overall, then you see, because this is the thing, you see, the whole point of this whole topic was to say, Ravi, that I felt like the bowling attack, I know obviously said not much to judge with in certain respects. It's actually not potentially that far away from the side or the bowling attack that got South Africa to number 1 9 years ago. Now, obviously, you look at the landscape of cricket now because all the nations are stronger, particularly India, you would say, are a stronger nation than they were 9 years ago. But that being said, England are a weaker side than they were 9 years ago. It's kind of, you can go, you can look at both ways. Does South Africa now, if we look at what they had 9 years ago and what they have now, does it have the potential, this current lineup, let's go for the team that played against Sri Lanka in that series, does it have the potential over the course of the next couple of years to become number 1 again?
Look, definitely, we've got the potential. But I will say this, and I think this is where my mate Luba, who just left us now, we disagree on a number of things, but the one thing that we both agree on is that Vernon Philander was by far one of the finest test bowlers in the world for the last decade. And we don't have a Vernon Philander. We don't have a guy that's taking fifers like it's those free condiments at a restaurant type of thing. I mean, the Vernon Philander was significant. We don't have a Vernon Philander in the team. While I'm absolutely happy with the test win against Sri Lanka, it's a start. It's very difficult to say whether we will be number 1. I think we said it correctly right now. I would give it. I would actually construct a 5-year plan. Working towards it. Whether it's a question of whether this quartet's going to be there or not, I don't know. But one thing I can tell you is that the wealth of fast bowling talent in the domestic circuit right now is quite impressive. So it's highly likely you might see newer guys coming in. There's a lot of fringe players there. I know there's a lot of mentions of Glenton Steerman as well. We mustn't forget that there's a high likelihood that he might feature. Buren Hendricks as well is a possibility he might feature as well, because we mentioned how riddled our side is with so many injuries. So I think it's going to be more than just a quartet. I think it's going to be one of those situations where we're going to have to go to a specialist bowler in some cases.
I think, to pick your brain a little bit here, Ravi, but for me, correct me if I'm wrong, obviously, but I feel like that's actually a really good point you've made there. I think South Africa now, compared to then, there's far better players on the fringes, on the sidelines, looking in. What you have, that's a really good point you actually made there, Ravi, because I feel like the 11 players from 2012, it's littered with legends. A.B. de Villiers, Graham Smith, Hashim Amla, Jacques Kallis, greats of the game, not the South African game, the game that will stand the record stand test of time. But And the bowlers obviously staying, and Mork we've mentioned before as well, and to a certain extent Vinny Philander, even though he was obviously new, but then his career was wonderful. But then on the outside, if you outside of kind of like those 12, 13 players, there wasn't much. Whereas South Africa, they've now assembled a pool of 20 class players. I mean, the likes of René van Tonder, Steeman you mentioned. I look at someone even the squad, but Ruben de Swart playing for the Dolphins. I'm a bit of a bias, you can tell, but I'm a big fan of de Swart, and Abai, if he was here, he'd be saying the same thing. You mentioned Buren Hendricks as well there. There's other guys on the sidelines. Keegan Peterson, Saraloia, Marcus Ackerman, I know you're a big fan of. There's so many guys now. That's actually a really good point. I think the difference now is that they have 20, 22 players to pick from and remain competitive. And that will, I think, will help them because there's more cricket being played, as you rightfully say, injuries are going to come up more and more frequent. There's, there's T20 games leagues around the world. You've got the IPL, a lot of these guys are playing for, and these 3 formats. So I think that would be actually how they're managed, and will kind of determine how well South Africa go. Because the likes of Faf du Plessis, while he's done obviously superb against Sri Lanka with that 199, he's still, for me, 12 to 18 months retirement. He's in the last stretch. But it's not as scary as, say, for example, when Hashim Amla left, because there's no coincidence whatsoever, and this would happen to any side, but they lost those players periodically. Obviously, Amla was the last one to go pretty much, but De Villiers, Smith, Amla, Cullis, those guys left, and South Africa went down. That's exactly how it went. Those guys just started getting the shoulder injuries, and this happened. But now it feels like, what? If some of these key players like Faf du Plessis, even De Kock, if he goes down, Calvin Rayner, people are ranting and raving about this guy.
Definitely.
Step in. You see, that's the difference I see now. And I think you made an excellent point there, Ravi. Thank you for that. I think it's a really good way to kind of get to the end of this, that I feel the prospects for South Africa now are greater because of the much stronger pool of players to work with,
Definitely. Yeah, no, and that's the thing. I think and plus they're young as well. There's some really young, hungry fast bowlers. There's a guy named Gerald Coetzee. I'm sure you'll pick him. Yeah. He's only 21 years old, not even. And he's cranking it up at about 148, 150 k's an hour. So he's waiting in the wings. Obviously, there's a bit of a queue. You got Linton, obviously, who's a little more seasoned. But he's also banging on the door. So there's plenty of options at the moment. You also I forgot to mention the obvious one, Tando Ntini, who's almost been groomed for a test cap for a very long time, and by none better than Makai Ntini himself. So he's also knocking on the door. I mean, he'll have to wait a while, but I'm pretty confident next 4 or 5 years you might even see him in the lineup at some point. So I think I mean, I think that's a polarizing difference between 2012 to now, is that our domestic setup, you could say, kind of had a recovery as well. We've seen like a injection of new talent. I think there's been a better investment in terms of the pipeline. So hopefully we won't see a mass exodus and then suddenly a dip in performances again. So that's what we're trying to prevent.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, they said before, Ntini, De Swart, Coetzee, they're not even in the squad to go to Pakistan. It's a 21-man squad, 22-man squad. They so plus that, it's 25 guys. If you include those three, it's just Marcus Ackerman's another guy. I know you're a big fan of Ackerman, aren't you? You're hot on this guy. So
I'm big. I know Reina Fontaine will probably supersede him as well. I'm a big fan of him as well. In fact, we interviewed him the other day. But you mentioned the pipeline, the spin bowlers as well. For the first time in a long time, I've never seen like this massive lineup of domestic spinners that are all knocking on the door at the same time. So Keshav, if you asking about somebody looking behind the shoulder, I think it's Keshav Maharaj to an extent, because you've got Pranil and Subrine from the Dolphins, as you are aware. You've got Muthusamy also from the Dolphins. You've got Bjorn Fortuin. You've got George Linder. George Linder is the front runner, like almost like the heir and waiting.
Heir and waiting, heir apparent.
Heir apparent, sorry, the heir apparent. And and he
Sean
obviously
von Berg still doing it. Sean von Berg still doing it.
And
You've got
interestingly enough,
Shandy.
a lot of the domestic batsmen we've been speaking to the last couple of interviews, all of which have unanimously stated that Sean van Berg is by far the best spinner in the domestic setup at the moment. And this is coming from frontline batsmen. You know what I'm saying? It's not a fanatic's opinion, it's not a fan's opinion. This is a batsman saying Sean van Berg is almost unplayable. And for a second, I thought they were going to pull up a wild card, which is what I like about the England cricket team, is that you guys aren't afraid to make selections if you feel it's going to work for you on the day. With us, we speak to 10 different people before you make a decision. I think obviously there's a measured approach you follow, but you will choose a guy for the actual conditions for the way the game is meant to be played. If they were really want to test throw caution to the wind and really go for it, I would have actually considered taking Sean van Berg as well in this tour. That would be interesting.
Yeah, because I think it's actually Batty was a bit older, but I think about Gareth Batty went on the India tour in 2016-17. Now Batty was 39 years old at that point, and you would think then,
that was crazy. I remember that.
Do you remember, like, Batty now he's 43. I'm a Surrey fan. I'm a big fan of Gareth Batty, but to see, as I said before, England are not afraid to do something like that. And Sean van Berg at 34, who's number one in the domestic charts, I think he might be a bit hard done by. I just feel sometimes in cricket, and this is just generally cricket, Ravi, that it's about the optics and it's about the profile of a certain player and about I hate to say this, but fan opinion can influence a lot of people, even people in those boardrooms, the opinion on someone. Like we're really high in Juro Kotsir. Everyone is. But the reality is, I don't think he's played this season for the Knights. I think he's been injured the entire time. We're all talking about Juro Kotsir because of what he did in the 3TC. So I think it's because we all love a young, raw, tearaway fast bowler. We love that. And so he will get, elevated up because the optics are good, the profile is good. See, also on paper, it's someone to bring into the fold. But that being said, someone like Neil Bartman, that I have to credit because he did very well for Dolphins the first few games for us, coming joining us.
I actually had to look him up. I remember I didn't know who he was at all. I'll be honest, and it was an arrogant thing to say, but I really didn't know who this guy was. And I looked him up, and I was very, very impressed. And I was almost reassured that what they were trying to do with this decision, it made absolute sense when I watched him play.
He's not gone the Wizzy now. He's got some injury. He's got some ill. They've not revealed exactly what it is, but Malky Janssens took his place to go on the plane, hasn't he?
It was a very recent thing. But I think coming back to the profile story, I mean, when you look at a guy like Sean van Berg, you don't think athlete, but the guy is probably like in the top 3 spinners in the country.
Yeah.
I think where the problem comes in is that he's not known for his batting. And I think that's where Keshav Maharaj, Jaswin and Muthusamy, that's where even Praneelan
so Brian can hit, Linda, obviously, as well.
They can all bat, you know what I'm saying? Linda, exceptional with the bat. In fact, they were even talking about him coming in at 6 and letting come in back at 7 and then dropping Temba. Obviously, some people want the Temba out, but Linda was looked like a very capable number 6 at one point domestically. So there's so much variety with regards to our spin bowlers at the moment. They're not just there to fill up a spot or just bowl. I think they just they do so much more.
Absolutely, absolutely. But that's great. That's a great way to end this. I think I'll just say from my personal perspective here, Ravi, that I think obviously as a Proteas fan, obviously obviously followed the team for a long time. Disappointed, obviously, to how South Africa have gone last few years, but I really feel there's a lot of hope on the horizon. A lot of hope, genuinely. Speaking about just the last 5 minutes, going through all these names that are on the peripheral of the squad and the side, I think the good times are ahead. I think all the departments look well stocked, and I think it's looking the future is looking very bright, in my opinion, for the Proteas. So excellent. Ravi, thanks once again for coming on. Really genuinely appreciate it, mate. I know there's load shaking, so I was kind of scared thinking that light behind is going to go out. and I'll just be left
It
by myself here.
was out beforehand, so we had load shedding from the afternoon.
Oh, fantastic!
Yeah,
Well, yeah, not fantastic, but do you know what I mean? I'm glad it was definitely before our stream.
yeah, definitely. Worried
So,
about.
yeah, but thank you, obviously, to Abai Soccer again from Bolt Through the Gate. Go check him out. Lubalalo, the Crick Scholar. Go check him out as well, Instagram and Twitter. And Rob, you're already here for Cricket Fanatics Magazine. In fact, all three guests today are from CFM. If you don't know who they are, I'd be surprised, but do go and check them out. They're covering all things South African cricket. Phenomenal channel, doing some wonderful stuff over there. So go out, check them out, support them, Instagram, Twitter, all the usual socials. So yeah, thanks once again, Ravi. Stuck to the end, mate. We lost Lubalolo. He was busy at the end, and I'd like to pull off as well. But yeah, thanks for hanging in for an hour and 6 minutes almost. I really appreciate it. Is there anything you'd like to sign off with, Ravi, just to kind of finish up?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, a belated Happy New Year to all of our viewers on the Uneven Bounce. I believe this is your first show for the year. Yeah, just for the South African fans that are watching, just be patient with the team. I think they are going through some growing pains. It is a relatively new team, and they are going on a way tour to Pakistan for the first time in 14 years. So it is going to be another learning curve. I think just stick with the guys. Just give them messages of encouragement. Just keep on sending tweets and Facebook posts just to show some encouragement. Faf is quite vocal on social media as well, and I think the team will be quite responsive to it as well. So thanks, guys.
Thank you so much. And last but not least, well, thank you so much to the guys that comments. Joe, obviously Emily as well. Posted comments at the end. We actually didn't show this one, but it was a little cheeky one. Kesha Maraj, Betan Cheswa, Pajara.
Oh, Emily is starting a fight with India right now.
Don't be doing that. Yeah, it's a 1,000,000,000 to 1 fight. You're probably not going to win. So yeah, thanks, and even thanks to Aaron for the comedy element of things. I appreciate it, mate. Yeah, all right, guys, do check me out. I've got some more videos coming up. I've done videos actually for the Dolphins kind of reaction videos to our back-to-back wins last weekend. I haven't uploaded them. I'm going to do that, and I'll be doing another couple of live streams the next week or so. So check them out. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. I'd really appreciate that. And yeah, hope to catch you guys soon. All right, thanks so much. Cheers.